So you have covered just about everything there is to cover over the years. What was the one event that you felt where you felt that men and women were really held in equal regard that you've covered?
I sort of feel like the Olympics are that way. I've done 13 Olympics, and I can honestly say that women and men are, the sports are treated equally. I feel more so, maybe especially you look at a sport like basketball, the men's team is getting all this attention, but the women's team is getting so much attention as well. So I feel like there's a more level playing field when you're at the Olympics.
So what is different about us in America versus the Olympics where we don't kind of have the same level of attention?
If I knew the answer to that, I mean, I'm not sure. I think that what ends up happening at an Olympics is that it really is a world community. And all of these people, what we love about the Olympics so much is that you have all of these people who train in relative obscurity their entire lives for this one moment. And they might not ever make a podium. They might not ever even make the finals of whatever their sport is, but they've trained their entire lives for this moment to be part of this world community. And I think that there's a respect for that. And I think that even as viewers, when we're sitting at home and we're watching, we respect that. It could be your next door neighbor. It could be your brother. It could be your cousin out there working so hard and trying to make that moment special. And there's something about it that just evens everybody out, and not just men and women, but all races and people from different countries, and you truly do feel like you're part of something that's so special, and that, gee whiz, why can't we act the way that we do at the Olympics every single day, right?
The world would probably be a better place. For me, Jackie McMullen was one of my big role models growing up. Who really inspired your career?
Well, the funny thing is that I'm so old that I am pre-Title IX, and I came up in a time of television where women there were not only women, were they not doing sports on television, they weren't even doing news. I wanted to be a newscaster, and that was going to be a huge, huge breakthrough because there were not even women doing news on TV. The first 4 jobs that I got offered coming out of college were to do the weather. The only women on television in the 70s, in the late 70s, were doing the weather. And so my first job, I did the weather. I was at a weather map, and that was what I did, and that was how I started. So there wasn't necessarily anyone out there. I didn't have any role models to look to at that time because there was no one doing that. There was no one, and even when I started sports, the only women who were doing sports on television when I started, Leslie Visser had just started at CBS, and Gil Gardner was working at ESPN. And they were really the only ones. There were a lot of writers. There were a lot of female writers. I will say that when I was a kid growing up in Detroit, there was a woman who wrote for the Detroit News. And she was in Vietnam, and she was all over the world. And I remember writing her letters because she was a reporter. So I guess it was more of a news thing and more of this print reporter that sort of sparked my interest, probably.
I know there's been kind of a classic, or I'd say a template that has developed over the years where there's a female host and then male analysts. Do you think there's been progress made now where women are being put in position where they're looked at as the experts?
I think there is progress, but I think that it's interesting because it's been so slow. I think that it just kind of, you see a lot of sideline reporters, and and so you see that growing and growing and growing, and then we didn't see anybody, and all of a sudden now, like, you see Doris Burke. Doris Burke doesn't just do the sidelines. Doris Burke doesn't just do the play-by-play. She'll be the analyst on a men's basketball game. So I think that we are seeing it more, and I think that because of the times we're living in, I think that that's going to accelerate and go a little bit quicker than it has because we're running out of patience.
So what's the next breakthrough that you think needs to happen?
I don't know if there's one specific breakthrough. I think that it's just continuing. I think that the most important thing is for there to not be the gender bias, not just in sports and not just in sports television, but just in the world we live in. When a woman is in a corporate boardroom and she behaves a certain way, as a leader should, or as a leader of someone in a high-ranking position should behave, she's called certain names that, if a man behaves the same way, he's just being a leader, and wow, isn't he powerful, and isn't he strong, and isn't he great? That's what we really need to change, because when that starts to topple, then the rest of it will all fall in order, and that's really how kids are being raised from the time they're itty-bitty, to make sure that we're all on the same page.
So what's the one message that you would want to convey tonight?
I think that one of the messages for me is that you can really turn obstacles into opportunity, and that what we truly need, we need more role models out there. We need more women who are willing to take the risk and to do it, like the first, female NFL official, Becky Hammon, out there, an assistant coach in the NBA. I think that we need more people like that, and I think it's hard, and I, listen, it's scary. It's a scary world to try and do that. But I think that the more we can have those role models and the more we can encourage young women to take that leap of faith and look at that obstacle as an opportunity, then I think it's going to change. And that's my biggest message probably. Because I don't have to take the leap because I've already...
Now, since you brought her up, Becky Hammon was in the news this week because renowned blowhard Mike Francesca in New York said that she shouldn't be a head coach, which I think most of the sane world thought was a little bit absurd. And Greg Popovich, her boss, said that was absolutely absurd. I mean, do you think that having people like Francesca, not to single them out necessarily, but having people that are in such have such powerful podiums, being such leaders of major shows, being able to say things like that and then kind of at the end of the whole media backlash still be able to get through it, is that an issue that you think needs to be addressed more significantly?
To me, the greatest thing about something like that is that it really forces the conversation to the surface. And, he can say whatever he wants and he can have his opinion. I worked with him for a long time, and, you have your opinion, I might not agree with it, but the most important thing is that women are speaking up and that someone can look at someone and say, boy, I not only disagree with you, I think you're so wrong, but it starts the conversation. And, I think that because of all of the outlets for the media now, the internet and Twitter and Facebook and all of Instagram, all these different places, that somebody can say something, but it doesn't have I don't think it has as much power in the sense that it doesn't influence people's opinions. I don't know that him saying that influences so many opinions as much as it makes those who disagree stand up. And that's a good thing.
Well, we'll continue to shout down idiots wherever we can. So thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Pleasure.